reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You're logging into your favorite game, grinding out some gear. A couple of points added to your stats, and you have a virtual beer. Max level is pretty cool, but I'll remind you here, my friend. These games are not about the goal, it's about the journey and not the end.
You're listening to MMO Reporter, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of MMO Reporter. This is episode 257. This week we are Chrisless, but we are not Harryless. How are you, Harry? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Apparently, I'm saying everything twice. I got a little bit of Jacob Tutu going on tonight. So, anyway.
No idea who that is, but
maybe it's a Canadian thing. It's a children's book.
Okay.
He's a kid. He says everything twice, so they call him Jacob Tutu.
He says everything twice. Okay, so he says everything twice. Okay, that's good to know.
Yep.
So
Twice.
Okay, well, maybe we should get going, or maybe we should get going.
Enough of that game. Let's jump into it
forever.
Here. We'll jump into it here. So this week we don't actually have a funny place for Chris to be. Chris is just, he's having a tough week. So if there was ever a week that you wanted to send a kind tweet or email to Chris, this is probably a good week for it, at MMO_reporter or MMO.reporter@gmail.com. So
we wish Chris all the best, and hope he's going to be back next week.
Yep. You bet. So in the meantime, we actually did some game playing this week, and I'm going to go first because you know what? I have the mic. So this week, I jumped into the Overwatch beta. Actually, Chris and I both played a little bit of that, and I think I fell in love. Actually, I never really pictured myself as really being into anything seriously MOBA-ish, and I've never been a first-person shooter kind of guy or anything like that. I just was engrossed with Overwatch. I don't even know what's special about it because it doesn't seem to do anything that other shooter MOBAs have done or like Team Fortress 2 or anything like that. There's a whole bunch of analogs out there for Overwatch, but I just had more fun in that kind of game than I can remember ever. It was just fun.
What characters do you like? That's the question to ask for Overwatch beta.
And that's the one that I asked all over the place. It was water cooler topics at my office, so it was good. My favorite so far has been Hanzo. I've really enjoyed that. I've been of a Pharah player as well. Hanzo is the archer, kind of long range sniper. Pharah is the rocket booster character, the one that gets really good altitude and has a rocket launcher. And I mean, what more could you possibly want from that? I did play a little bit of just from a kind of a tanky perspective. I played Reinhardt as well too, and he's the one that's running around in the heavy armor and the big flaming hammer. So
that's cool.
Those were my favorite. How about you, Harry? I know you didn't really get into it much this week, but you must have an archetype that you like.
So far, I'm actually a bit torn between Tracer. I really like the rewind mechanic, the whole kamikaze idea of just running guns blazing, and then just pressing rewind and undoing some of the damage others do to you. I really like that. And Bastion is just great for the kill streaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost every game when they're doing like kind of the players of the game summary, there's always a Bastion in there. Like that seems to be set up to really be in that final circle there. Either that or excellent players just play Bastion. I don't know.
I have a small poster with all the Overwatch characters signed by the development team.
Oh, neat.
That's so cool. Yeah, I never do that, go for autographs, but when I was at BlizzCon, they were actually signing, and I just had to do that because I really love the whole feel of the game. Mm-hmm. It's just made for fun.
Oh, very cool. That feels like it's framing stuff. It's the kind of thing that sits in a nice wooden frame on your wall that you tell your grandkids about 100 years down the road, whenever grandkids get old enough for that kind of thing. I don't know.
Back in the day before VR, your granddad actually got... Yeah, that's that kind of thing.
There's a picture on paper. Who does that? Anyway.
That's paper. Don't... Yeah. Never mind. I'm not doing the old man voice again.
Speaking of pre-VR days, I'm still chewing through Shadow of Mordor. I'm looking at my story meter. I'm at about 80% complete right now. So I could, and again, the story is actually starting to ramp up, and I keep deliberately interrupting the story because I don't want to be done slaughtering hundreds and hundreds of orcs because it's just so fun. I'm interested in the story. I want to see where it's going, but I don't want to stop killing orcs. It's a real it's a conundrum.
I actually can't find the flaw in your logic.
Exactly.
I have no argument to counter this.
They made the game is too good. They made a story that was interesting, and they made the mindless killing too fun.
It was a sleeper hit of sorts, and nobody expected this game to be what it was. And the whole politics system, if you can call it that, between the orcs and moving up in the ranks, it just gives you the feeling of it being your story, which I really like.
Well, the story that you drive. I mean, clearly there's the on-rails story that you're participating in the narrative for and that kind of thing, and that's there. But you absolutely have complete and utter control over who lives, who dies, who fights who like you actually even get to, when you've got two war chiefs fighting each other, you get to choose which one wins. You can have your own buddy, your own favorite.
That's good. Yeah.
Ooh, I wonder how much gambling is out there on this. I feel like this is the kind of thing that there should be Vegas odds on.
Actually, yeah.
Anyway, so Shadows of Mordor, did some Guild Wars 2 time as well. I for the first time in a while, I got back into my just regular pattern of kind of running the events that were hot at the moment. I did Orc Basin. I did a couple of world boss trains in the old world and that kind of thing. And I'm still just having fun with that. I really like the new reward system in the expansion. Dang it.
Maguma's Jungle.
Thank you. And it's, I don't know. It's just, it feels like there's more coming. There's not this big bubble at the end that you have to race around and collect chests and everything like that. It was actually kind of funny because I finished the Orc Basin event, and usually when you do that, the reward is that you run through the Golden City and you open up like 20 or so different chests that have big reward pulls and everything like that. But because I'm just that lucky, I got pulled away from Guild Wars after I'd opened the second chest. I had to go take care of a kid emergency and that kind of thing. Came back and I was kicked out of the event, and I didn't get to open all the other chests. So I was really sad and down and everything. And then I looked in my inventory and I realized I'd already gotten about as much loot as I'd normally get in an Orc Basin run. So I technically didn't really lose anything. At least that's what's making me feel better.
That's what you're telling yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm feeling good. Anyway, good change. I like the new spring patch. It's making me happy. So, how about you, Harry? You must have done some amazing things this week.
Well, maybe it's good to just start with Guild Wars 2 as well, because I also have been playing that, and it's I enjoy the changes they did to the jungle very much, because they, at first, I played the expansion when they launched it, and you didn't really notice how difficult the zones were because you just followed the Zerg. Everybody was doing the event chain, so you could basically move through the jungle without much problem. But if you go in solo, you got swamped, you got killed, you got slaughtered by everything that moved, and they've tuned that now. The enemies are still more challenging than in the regular world, but at least it gives more that old world feeling of being able to explore and just go wherever you want to and just find new stuff. And that's such a big improvement to me. And I also really like the enhanced XP gain because the new progression system is it's kind of like a Metroidvania. You need new skills to open up new areas or new ways of transport, like the gliding or the bouncing mushrooms or the speed mushrooms and the whole cave system. And and that is fun, but if you have to wait or you have to play so long to unlock the next skill, it kind of becomes a grind, and they've changed that. Now I'm just doing events, and oh wait, hey, I got a new skill, and it's way better than it was at launch. So I'm very much enjoying Guild Wars 2 again, especially on my new PC at 80 frames per second. Oh my god! Yeah,
jealous.
This is so good, actually. But I'm actually seeing screen tearing because my monitor is only 60 hertz. So anything over 60 frames is completely useless anyway. But it basically hurts. But I can't bring myself to bring it down because bigger numbers. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it looks worse. The number is bigger, so it's better.
Obviously.
Yeah. But aside from that, there's a couple of new things that I'm really enjoying. First things first, Stellaris is a 4X game from the people who brought you Crusader Kings. And that means, and I think they did, it's Paradox, so they also did Europa Universalis, I think. But it's in the same. And those are those are more grand strategy games. There seems to be a distinction there. Mm-hmm. So it's and Stellaris is kind of like Galactic Civilizations, but also much more more politics.
Yeah.
It's I'm about 2 hours in now on my first game, and I've just given myself permission to fail because there is no other option. Because this game is dense. It is. They have a marvelous tutorial system usually when you play these games, you have a separate tutorial, and if you basically play a dead game, you just do a couple of the things, and then and now you start the real game. Not so here. They give you tutorial options, like you can go full tutorial, which I'm doing. All the options are explained with voice and with all kinds of pop-ups and everything. But it also spawns tutorial missions that actually help you progress your empire through the first phases. And so there is this little, it's not really a story there, but it makes sense. Like, okay, you have to explore a couple of star systems, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to build a mining outpost, and it's all ticked off in a way that you're actually playing the game while you're learning it, and that's the best way to play. On top of that, they have these story chains that are randomly generated, I think. And now my empire is in kind of a civil war with a faction that got away from Earth ages ago. Now it's coming back to raid our ship. It's all very interesting, and it's in real time, which is. Do you know the game Sins of a Solar Empire?
I know of it. I've never played it.
Well, that's a 4X game, very heavily on the combat. It's a 4X game, but it's you move your ships in 3D. You have to build formations, and it's a very good game, but very combat heavy in real time. And this game is also in real time, but it's far more slanted towards the civilization way of thinking. So there's much more to do in management and building, and I'm drowning in all the options in the systems, but in a good way. It's one of those games you make yourself a nice pot of coffee. You know you have 2 hours that you're not going to do anything else. Just sit there, just like curling up with a good book. This is not a game you play for 5 minutes. You just sit down and take it all in, and it is marvelous so far. So it's one of my favorite. Again, not played too long, but the hours that I've spent so far is so good. A little bit of. I think you would love this. Actually, if you are a Civilization fan, I think Stellaris is right up your alley.
I actually just put it on my wish list right now.
Yeah, it's really. I've heard stories from other reviewers that the mid game is kind of dragging, but that's every 4X game. I mean, that's not a notch against it. It's just good. I've played Elite Dangerous, the beta, a little bit, just to see, because there are some. There's some huge changes coming, especially in the mission system. I'm not touching that actually in the beta because I know everything I'm doing in the beta is going to go away. They're going to delete my guy after beta. It's not going to be anything that I'll. So I just wanted to see some of the new graphic effects and some of the, because they really beefed up some things. You know the ring systems.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you remember what they looked like in alpha and beta before?
Yep.
It's actually like that again now.
Oh.
So they really beefed up the draw distance of the asteroids in the ring systems and added an atmospheric fog or dust. And it looks very cool. All the asteroids have self-shadowing and shadowing each other, and it's very dynamic, and it's just, I can't wait to look at that in VR. This is the MMO Reporter drinking game. Every time Harry says VR, take a shot. And if you do that, you'll be in the hospital before the show is over. But it really, and they've done some stuff to the planetary surface materials that look a lot more realistic. Apparently, the performance is also better, but I don't notice that because my PC apparently handles it. I don't see a discernible difference in frame rate between the previous version, which is side by side on my PC, and the new one, but it just looks good. It's good. That's
the definition of a PC first world problem. Oh, my computer's so fast I can't tell if there's game improvements.
Yeah. Believe me, I'm not complaining about that at all. Actually, I do think it will matter when VR is here for me, because then every little ounce of performance is going to be an improvement. So I'm very happy about them optimizing stuff. I've not even yet. The new engineers are there as well in the beta, and those are special NPCs that give you all kinds of special equipment if you bring them the right materials, and they have unique bases of themselves put down on the planets, and I have not visited them. I'm kind of on the fence if I'm going to do that in beta, or I'm just going to wait for VR, as I intended to wait for VR for Elite Dangerous anyway. But I just couldn't resist just checking out the beta just a little bit. I mean, you have to, right?
Yeah.
And finally, yesterday I received my copy of Uncharted 4.
Ooh.
Breathtaking. It is so good. Again, not far in, just the first hour, but oh my god, this is so much fun. Naughty Dog are the masters of storytelling in games. They just nail it. And the way, and graphically, obviously, it's fantastic. And I just don't, they used, I think, photogrammetry for many of the. You know what photogrammetry is?
No, I was going to ask actually.
Actually, that is a technique that's being used a lot in VR development. I told you're going to get drunk. And it's you basically scan real world objects and entire environments and turn them into polygonal models. And so you take the textures and the environments directly from real life. And that's something that yields a very realistic effect. I've seen demos of photogrammetry just for that, to push the realism. And it looks like pictures. It looks fantastic, even in 3D. And obviously they've stylized it, because Uncharted has always had a stylized look. And that's good, because that means it doesn't date as quickly as photorealistic does. But the actual environments look so good. Like I'm in love with the detail on just bricks and bumps in the road and all. It's so dense with detail. And that's if you take the time to look at it, because the action is nonstop. This is an Indiana Jones adventure when Indiana Jones was still good. So it's so far I'm loving it.
So when you're talking about the graphics in there, when you're playing on your PS4, what are you actually playing on? Is it just a regular 1080p TV, or do you have a high refresh, like 120 hertz TV or something like that to give this a little more pop? Or
it's 100 hertz full HD 1080p TV, but nothing. It's nothing ridiculous. It's just I think a regular TV. But it's
kind of. Yeah. I was going to say it's just kind of exciting to think about. Just even with just a regular TV, if you're getting a fantastic experience out of Uncharted 4, because I've heard so much. Like I've again talking about water cooler talk at the office. Everybody's playing Uncharted 4 for the last couple of days. If it looks that good, I'm just thinking about VR again, just like Harry. In the fall, like, is this a game that you're just going to get lost staring at a wall and in VR?
The thing is, the fidelity that Uncharted 4 brings is impossible in VR on the PlayStation.
Oh,
the PlayStation, because you have to remember that it has to run at 120 frames per second. Mm-hmm. In stereoscopic view on the PlayStation VR headset. So you could get away with a 60 frame per second upscale, which is what most games will do, and all kinds of wizardry called asynchronous time warping. I will not get into that because that's just too deep. But still, to make games run good on VR, they can't go this far on the definitely on the next generation, but not on the current PlayStation 4. I think if you would want the level of detail and graphics and fidelity of Uncharted 4, you would need a very powerful PC graphics card to do that on an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive. Because I'm not saying the graphics will suck on VR, but you just have to let go of that idea of full HD, high fidelity, all physics graphics on idea of beautiful. There are different levels of beauty in computer graphics, and we are going to see a reset. Games are going to look like they looked 5 years ago, which isn't bad, but it's not this. Oh, and the particle effects in Uncharted 4. The dust moving in the sunlight. It's just breathtaking. Never mind. But usually I don't really care about graphics. I actually think sometimes too much detail on materials distracts from the experience, because then I'm staring at a chair like, oh my God, look at the upholstery of that chair. While bullets are flying around. I'm actually known to do this. Like, oh wow, there's actually creases in the leather. I'm dead. This so I don't necessarily think better graphics are always the better way to go. But in this case, I'm just in love with the way it looks. It makes me feel up there. Yeah.
Someday in our lifetime, there's going to be the entire tactile response suit that you wear while you're in virtual reality, and you're going to be enjoying the fabric of the chair, and all of a sudden that bullet that's coming for you is actually going to hit you in the side. You're going to say, ouch, damn it.
They're already working on that.
Yeah. That's going to be. It's going to be magic. It's a wonderful time. What a wonderful time to be a gamer.
There is a company in the US. I've forgotten the name of it, but they're setting up special VR arcades. And if you go in there, you wear a special suit that has actuators all over the suit that give you haptic feedback, just like a controller does, like a rumble effect. I'm just desperately avoiding the word vibrator, but it's so. I've read an article about somebody trying this out, and he says there's this adventure game that you play, and it's in a fairly large room, but they use two techniques. First, you have this physical feedback. So at the start of the experience, you walk through a magical portal, and that actually makes you feel like you're pushing through a membrane thanks to the feedback. And the second thing, and this is amazing, if you walk in a straight line in the game, you only think you're walking in a straight line. This is called directed walking. By adjusting the view on your headset, you can trick your body into thinking you're walking in a straight line, but you're actually going in circles. So you can walk forever through this game world and not hit a wall. And for anybody on the outside, they see you just going around in circles. But for you, your mind, you are completely convinced that you're walking in a straight line for miles and miles and miles. And it's that kind of trickery that excites me so much. Because that's the actual holodeck.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not VR Reporter. I was going to...
It sort of is, but...
Well, yeah, but come on. If we want to, we want this. I mean, MMOs, the one thing we want is immersion, is the feeling of being in another world and experiencing stuff there. Gameplay is important too, but that's the fantasy, sharing a world that's not really there. And then VR is the combination of that fantasy. That's what we want to be, where we want to go. Mm-hmm. That's my vision. That's what I'm sticking to. Don't say Virtual Boy. Okay.
Not going to.
Maybe we should go to I think I'm done with my list.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. So let's move on a little bit. First things first, I want to thank all of our patrons over on patreon.com/MMO Reporter. You guys are fantastic. You help us keep the lights on. We love doing what we do, and we love that there's other people out there that love what we do. It's very flattering and beautiful. So thank you very much. If you want to be one of those excellent Patreon contributors, head on over to patreon.com/MMO Reporter and patron it up.
Off of the tank, overhealing, you'll get no thanks. Too much DPS without a rest, seeing if your healer is up to the test. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die.
So on with the news today, and I am aware that the show is technically called MMO Reporter, so I apologize thoroughly for this next bit. I'm sorry, but this just had to happen. Civilization 6 was announced today.
Yeah.
Release date October 21st, 2016, and my whole concept of time has now changed because somehow I have to open up probably hundreds of hours this year to play this game. So really how this is going to tie in, this is an MMO related story because this is going to eat into my MMO time a lot.
Oh yeah.
So
it's even I will have my Rifts in October. I mean, there's nothing that will stop me from having that. But Rift also has this big picture mode, and you can actually play on a big virtual screen, and that's what I'm going to play Civilization 6 on. So nothing's going to keep me from playing Civilization 6.
Speaking of the magic of VR, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how Civ would even look in VR. Like, especially on a Vive. Like, just humor me for a Vive. I know.
Sure. No, that's good. It's
you
good
have
stuff.
Vive thoughts,
yeah.
But if you're standing up and you're doing controls with the motion controllers, and you got your 8-foot movement box, how could you do a Civ thing? Like, what if you were? I could just imagine working in a world manipulator where you're spinning around, and so all of a sudden you're facing the southern hemisphere of your world, and then you spin around again, and you're looking in the northern hemisphere, and you're doing completely different things. You could see advancing armies coming on a kind of a bit of a horizon there. Like there's actual. I mean, we're talking about a 4X strategy game, and I could still see it being a magical experience in VR. It's just. I'm not saying Civ 6 is doing that. There's nothing in the articles to say that they're doing that. This is my imagination going crazy on MMO Reporter.
Well, but
anyway,
there are several games already out there that do real-time strategy on VR, and you're basically playing on this big toy box table. And I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be something that we would do in the future. But let's, as you said, focus on what the actual game, not the one we are imagining. And if you got some really cool stuff to talk about, because this is really cool.
Yeah, well, first things first. I mean, what we can talk about is actually the graphics of it. And this is one of the things that's actually coming up as a bit of a controversial thing. The graphics for Civ 6 are not mind-blowing. Like, if you compare Civ 5 to Civ 6 screenshots that are out now and that kind of thing, they're a little more colorful, but the details in that are not significantly. Like, it's not like you're getting a huge polygon count improvement or anything like that by going from Civ 5 to Civ 6, but you're definitely getting kind of a very stylized look and everything like that. And I can't help but, again, be in that VR mode and wonder if this is something that they're angling towards that. Is this maybe the tabletop experience that they're trying to paint in a VR type world that obviously translates okay to a monitor, but maybe is meant to be spectacular in a VR experience?
But do you mind the graphics? Because I personally don't. Civ has never been about graphics for me. No,
I'm not complaining about it. I think it's fine. The gameplay it's all about gameplay. I mean, I tend to turn on all the UI elements and all the information elements, and it really drowns out any kind of graphical possibility for Civ 5 anyway. So no, I'm not put off by simple graphics or anything like that. If anything, it's just lends itself to maybe introducing the possibilities for more complex gameplay. So anyway, so there's the VR shoehorn there. We're still early in what we know about this. One of the things they talked about, or one of the themes they talked about, is really trying to bust out of some of the things they didn't like about Civ 5 was really how it became a very prescriptive game. That here we are 6 years later after Civ 5 is released, and typically when you're looking at the early parts of Civ 5, there is a right way to do it. There's a couple different ways you can do things, but there are absolutely mistakes you can make. You could do it wrong. You can ruin a game in the first 100 terms and just doom yourself. And that's something that they're trying to kind of move away from. And they talked about a few methods for that. But what do you think about that, Harry? I kind of think about a game that's going to get so much attention. It's going to get so heavily played. I'm wondering if this is kind of one of those ephemeral goals that you could never really reach, to kind of bust out of a prescriptive meta type gameplay or method. Well,
it depends. I mean, one of the things is you don't want to have too many cities in Civ 5, and you probably played the earlier ones, but it was in Civ 2 and Civ 3 up to a point. You actually were encouraged to expand as much as possible, and you could have dozens technically of cities and blob the map, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that now because your supply lines are a thing, and you just don't want to expand your cities too much. You want to expand your borders, and if you open that up again, if you give if you change around the way cities play, and that's something they're doing. If I read the article correctly, cities are not just a one-tile thing with all kinds of options. You're actually going to be sprawling your cities. It's all about having interesting choices at every moment in the game, and if they're offering more interesting choices in the first 100 turns, so games can fork off into different states that are all viable, I think it's challenging, but I think it's a very good thing, because I agree. The first phase of Civ is now kind of boring to me because you're always doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's getting interesting in the mid and end game once you get all the technical toys and all the options and all the politics. All the barbarians are gone and you're just facing your actual opponents and you have to deal with them. That's when the game gets going.
Yeah. Well, and that's hopefully going to change a little bit too, because one of the things they talk about, again, that first 100 turns meta changing is how technology is going to be working, like through Civ and all its permutations with expansions and that. The technology tree was always a very static thing, and again, if you're a veteran player of Civ 5, you have a path that you work through. There's certain technologies you research immediately. There's certain technologies that just aren't only there because you need to blow up the rest of the tree later. But one of the things they talk about doing in this game is that instead of just blindly following a tree because that's the next thing that you have to open up, technology is going to be a little bit adaptive. It's going to be, you're building a lot of boats. Your boat building skill is going to grow more quickly. You're working on your foot soldiers. Your foot soldier manufacturing capabilities are going to grow faster. So it's actually going to adapt a little bit to what you're doing in the game instead of just based on a choice that you made 50 turns ago about where you're going to go, or 20 turns ago, or whatever. That's
good. So you're actually getting better at building boats by building boats.
That almost makes a little bit too much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. There is one thing though, and this is something that happened to me before, and it's going to happen again. I was very into Civilization 4, and I loved that game to death, and I had all the expansions for it. And you probably recall the difference between vanilla Civ 4 and fully decked out, all expansions going Civ 4 is a completely different game. That totally like espionage and diplomatics and everything was just up to 11. Then came Civ 5, and it was a reset back to actually vanilla Civ, and then the expansions came, and now I'm again at a point that I'm completely comfortable with all the options at my disposal, and they're doing a freaking reset again. So that's the one thing I'm worried about, that whenever they launch a new Civ, it kind of feels barren compared to the previous version with all the expansion.
I sort of think they have to, though. And I mean, the cynic in me kind of makes me think that, they're just doing it because this justifies them releasing another $40 expansion halfway through the game and then another $40 expansion, da-da-da-da. But can you imagine if Civ 5 launched with everything that was plunked into all the expansions on day one? The information overload, I think, would be pretty heavy.
Oh, I agree, but that's what some games like Europa Universalis do. Yeah. That's just everything in the kitchen sink is in there. But I don't think I agree that there is good reasons to not do that. And I think the first one is, if they're building a completely new game that still has to have the essence of Civilization, I think it's good to restrain your ambitions just to make the core game good and build from there. Because they're doing a lot of things. They're probably going to have to reinvent the wheel, no pun intended, in a Civilization game.
That took me a sec.
For a couple of systems, and I think it makes sense to not do too much. But if it all works well, then I'm going to miss all the things that I can't do in the previous version. This is going to work out. It's not a big deal. It's just something I have to do. It's not like The Sims. The Sims are built to sell expansions. That's their whole model. They're selling you toys. Vanilla Civ is still amazing.
Yep, and it's there to eat up hundreds of hours of your time. That's what it does. It doesn't sell expansions. It just eats your time.
And I'm happy to give it my time. I will offer it my time. Okay, I think the next story is ready and primed to go, and it's going to be very fast and very powerful, because we're going to talk about the new NVidia graphics cards that have been announced. And this is something, dear listener, you might recall that just a couple of weeks ago, I told you about my new top-of-the-line PC with top-of-the-line graphics and everything up to date. And now it's just a Stone Age machine compared to the new graphics cards that NVIDIA has announced. This is the syndrome of every PC builder everywhere. The GTX 1080 and the GTX 1070 are imminent. The 1080 is the top-of-the-line NVIDIA graphics card, as fast as two GTX 980 Ti cards in SLI. So there's two cards. Two of these immensely powerful cards together. It's more powerful than the Titan X, and the Titan X is the most powerful card at the market at this time, at half the price. Because Titan is about $1,000. This is $600. $600 for a card that beats the Titan X, and even more interesting. And this is the card everybody's going to get. This is going to be the new standard. Is the GTX 1070, which will retail at $379 if you get the NVIDIA branded. But I've heard talk of $349 for like the Gigabyte or you have all these other companies that produce cards. And the 1070 is also faster than a Titan, but at that price, this is the price. It's like $20 more than a 970, and that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Well, and looking at the numbers, the 1070 is probably more. They claim it's faster than the Titan. It's at some things, and it seems to be borne out. But I would probably say that it's on par with the Titan, which is still an amazing achievement for a $379 card. Now, it's kind of interesting. The pricing is a little bit different for these cards than they've done in the past. Usually when they have kind of a major architecture change like this, the price points in the past have been $549 for the top of the line and $329 for the one step down. So we are paying a little bit more here. That's just, I don't know. I'm not even going to justify. You're paying a little bit more, but in terms of value compared to what you were getting on your video cards a month ago, this is still good.
If you get a 1070 now, or let's be clear, the release date for both cards pretty soon actually. 1080 out on May 27th and 1070 on June 10th. Mm-hmm. But if you get a 1070, you are done for video cards for the coming 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. There's no, I'm not going to be doing a Bill Gates, but you will not need anything more than that for anything the coming 3 years. I guarantee you.
To be perfectly reasonable about it, I mean that bears out from previous generations. Like I'm sitting on a GTX 680 right now, and I have been for just over 3 years. I still get 60 frames in just about everything I want to play. It's been a good card. I'm only starting to see the kind of the hints of hiccups in the latest and greatest and that kind of thing now. So yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect 3 years out of this, if not even a little bit more.
And the great thing is, we haven't talked about this on the show so far, but for VR, this is going to be a very interesting.
Sorry, what does VR stand for again?
That is virtual reality. Actually, the interesting thing is Oculus and HTC have said you need a minimum or recommended spec for your PC to be able to do VR. Minimum spec is in this case not something that is bare minimum. It is the recommended spec for a good experience. So with some good graphical fidelity, but not top of the line, but good. That's the GTX 970 or the AMD R9 290.
Right.
Those are in the same price range as the 1070. Mm-hmm. And that means that those cards, nobody's going to get that. So the recommended spec for VR has now gone up ridiculously high. Most people who are interested in building their PC for VR will be having an immensely powerful system. And all those, the previous top tier, the 970 and R9, are going to be dirt cheap. And these are going to be the entry level graphical cards. So what we're seeing here is a snowball effect that in the coming year, the coming 12 to 18 months, most PCs sold, even the entry level gaming PCs sold at reasonable prices, will be VR ready. So we're actually looking at a revolution in graphical fidelity. Most games are going to be able to run at a higher spec. Most people will at one day be able to buy a VR headset without even blinking an eye. That just it's still not a cheap hobby, but in one fell swoop, it has become much more attainable for many more people, and I find that very exciting.
Oh, it is. It's a big deal. I mean, people have been talking I know I've been talking for the last 18 months that when VR is ready, that's when I'm going to want to build a new PC. Well, guess what? VR's there. This video card kind of busts the doors open for doing exactly that. And I'm really curious to see kind of like how sales numbers work out over the next 6 to 9 months to see if this actually bears out, if there is an actual VR hardware revolution, if people are actually going to go through with the upgrade that they've been planning in their minds for a long time to accommodate this new technology. So it's going to be fun. It's a really, I said it already in this show, but it is a really exciting time. This is a beautiful boost to PC gaming.
And also, I don't even have any buyer's remorse about what I have. First, I knew this is going to happen, but $349, which is going to be 349 euros, is not outside of the realms of possibility. If in the next year I want to upgrade, this is not something that I have to sweat about. This is not something I don't have to sell my girlfriend for this. I mean, this is something I can just. I mean, this is all reasonably priced. That is the kicker. I'm so happy. Just makes me happy.
That's glorious. I'm happy too. And you know what makes me happy? What also makes me happy is our sponsors. They make me happy. I'm really happy that we have people sponsoring the show. If you want to help out those fine sponsors that are helping us keep MMO Reporter trucking along, first off, head over to audiblepodcast.com. Edible Audible Podcast. I think they're working on delicious fruit-flavored podcasts.
Yummy.
Head over to audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter. Don't worry about the flavored podcasts yet. That's a ways off. Geez, Harry, you're doing it to me. Audible Podcast.
Anything. I'm just sitting here listening to you talking about audio.
I'm hungry. I'm so hungry right now. audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter. Sign up, get yourself a free audio book, give it a listen, even if it's a cookbook. They must make audio cookbooks. That's got to be a thing. Audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter. Sign up. It's going to be a magical thing for you. And Doghouse Systems. You know what? I bet you Doghouse Systems are going to be building PCs around these new NVidia cards now. I bet you if you wanted to order a PC, they would be happy to try source one of these video cards for it. Head over to doghousesystems.com, build your dream PC, and just to throw a little bit of icing on the cake when you're done, use the coupon code MMO Reporter when you check out, and they're going to stuff an extra 120 gigabyte SSD, which should hold Civ 6 beautifully on your new PC for you. A dedicated drive for Civ 6. That sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
doghousesystems.com. So in actual MMO news this week here on MMO Reporter.
The first MMO, how long are we talking? This is the first MMO we're going to be discussing in MMO Reporter.
We're going to play the drinking game now here. This is your opportunity to guess what MMO we're going to talk about first. Jeopardy theme song, bumpa, it's Guild Wars 2. So Guild Wars 2 announced this week some of the
parameters. In VR, take a shot. Woohoo! No.
The big one of the big changes they're making in World versus World. World versus World has been kind of a sore spot in Guild Wars 2 for a while. They're doing major overhauls to it, and this particular piece is just the scoring system. So previously in Guild Wars 2 World versus World, there's been problems with the fact that off-peak gameplay has really had a inordinate effect on match scoring. So just to explain this, Guild Wars 2 World versus World is just exactly what it sounds like. The different servers out there fight each other for week-long matches to determine who's the best server, who gets the most points, who gets the most rewards, etc. And there's a few. One of the issues they needed to fix are the fact that the base captures and the points that you score that happen off hours when there's 20 people playing on a map are exactly the same as when you've got 600 people playing on the same map in prime time. So you get these 20 people who can inordinately affect that outcome. So that's one of the factors that they're really working on. They're also working on the notion of the runaway matches, like the basically where the match starts on Monday and is basically over on Tuesday because one server or one group has completely obliterated everybody else. They've also wanted, in that same vein, they're looking for ways to make sure that even in a match where one side might be winning really heavily, there's opportunities for comebacks. And they want to make sure that win conditions are fair, that all things being equal, may the best world win kind of thing. So one of the things that are the actual changes that are going in. First, I'm going to try to blow through these bullets here, and then we can talk about them really quick after that. First thing they're talking about is they're splitting up their week-long matches into now into 2-hour sections that they're calling skirmishes. Now, these skirmishes are going to be determined. The victories in each skirmish are going to be determined by a war score. And that war score and then the skirmish victories are going to start accumulating victory points for the overall match. So the more victory points you have, the higher, the better you're doing in the overall match. The ultimate victory for the match comes from the most victory points. Now, one of the things they're changing is that victory points are going to be accrued differently depending on the time of day, the activity level in World versus World, and that sort of thing. So if you're in a time when activity level is super low, you might be winning your 2-hour skirmish, but that skirmish isn't going to be as valuable as the skirmish that's happening at 7 p.m. prime time on your server.
Oh, so, thank God. I was worried that this is going to force people to play in midnight.
Yeah, well, no, this seems
or something. Yeah,
seems to be exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the downside, obviously, are the people that are stuck playing only at midnight are just at reduced effectiveness. But it's not really reduced effectiveness; it's just bringing their effectiveness in line with the same level of effectiveness of a person who's part of the Zerg at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So, anyway, they're adding a new feature to each match where called Last Stand, which is the last day of the match where they're going to be applying multipliers to all the victory points. That's the catch-up condition to allow people to come back. So that there's no match that's permanently lost. If you can organize your server on that last stand day to really make a push, then maybe you can come back from a deficit. So that's at least a way to keep people engaged, and there's a ton more. I'm not going to bore everyone with the deep details of patch notes and that kind of thing. But this is one of the big starts of the World versus World overhaul. What do you think, Harry? Are they hitting on points that you've actually had problems with in World versus World?
Not personally, because for me it was usually was just find a Zerg and go with them and do whatever the commander tells me. So in that sense, it's probably not going to change that much to me. But I do think this is going to make it more attractive to play. And I've already noticed that since the spring patch hits, there have been actual queues for the Eternal Battlegrounds in World versus World, which is the most popular battlegrounds, the central one. And it's bringing a lot of people into the game. I was actually more excited about the fact that they're doing server alliances where low pop servers would be allied to other low pop servers to fill a realm, and so all the matches are basically fair. So they solved the population problem. That was more important to me. So everything is now coming together to make World versus World probably one of the more interesting PvP experiences out there. I'm rearing to go back in there because at its height, if you're realm versus realm with full population and everybody committed and everybody using different strategies is one of the greatest online experiences you can have. And they're really doing their best to keep that level of interest high. So I'm very excited about this.
There's magical experiences that happen when you have three worlds that are all relatively equal populations that all come across each other trying to do different things at the same spot of the map at once, and you've got a huge three-way battle happening. It's chaos, but it also has form. It's completely unpredictable, but you can still see where skill and organization come through. It's a beautiful experience. It's rare. I mean, unfortunately, it is rare, but when it happens, you can almost hear the operatic theme building up as you're fighting this. It's just.
But that's the one thing that this is ironic, but my greatest realm versus realm experience has been in Warhammer Online, a game that nobody really liked, I think. But when that actually happened, when we were defending a keep and one other realm was attacking us, and then the attacking realm was attacked by another realm. Mm-hmm. And that's the moment that everything just goes like, oh my God, this is really happening. So many people and nobody knows exactly who to target. And I've not seen that yet in Guild Wars 2, because the way it's set up now, you have a group of one server and of two other servers, and they're basically dancing around each other. Mm-hmm. We are capturing the south point of the map. Okay, the other guys are doing the north point, and the third is the west, and everybody, it's musical chairs, and we're just running around each other. And that's something that I think is the biggest problem, that there aren't enough moments where people are actually taking the time to defend the places they've got. Usually people just leave capture points and just go capture something else that's unguarded. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only weakness they still have. I don't know is there anything in the notes that you've seen that will tackle that particular thing?
Well, I think to a degree, one of the things they mentioned there is that the points per kill, like for killing other player characters, is actually going to go up. What they mentioned here is they're looking at rough numbers of getting 3 to 5 points per kill rather than the standard 1 that's given now. Now, by itself, that actually sounds like a fairly small increase, but it's triple to 5 times the amount of points that you'd get by actually killing other players. So instead of getting into that dance that you were mentioning there, where it's more worthwhile to actually capture objectives and not confront anyone else, because killing other players in World versus World was an inefficient way to spend your time. Maybe that will shift that dynamic, because ultimately that's what World versus World should be. You should want to come across a big group of other players and fight them, not avoid them because it's a waste of time.
Exactly. Well, I really hope you're right that that's the solution, because then it would be the perfect realm versus realm game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm hoping for. That would be. That's what I always hope for. I mean, Guild Wars 2 is perfect. Don't get me wrong. I don't even know why we mentioned that there's anything that could even be construed as a flaw, because there are no flaws.
It's perfect. Yeah.
But this would make it even more perfect.
Yeah. You still want your damn, I forgot the name of the game. Not Warhammer Online. Damn it.
Dark Age of Camelot.
Dark Age of Camelot. That's the type of thing. Anyway, maybe Crowfall will bring that to us.
You know, I'm sort of hoping that Crowfall is going to be that one. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to be waiting probably a little while longer than I initially anticipated for Crowfall, because they're changing their development cycle. So Crowfall is it's basically completely crowdfunded. They had a very successful Kickstarter. They've been selling their pre-order packages and everything, and we'll get away from our normal pre-order chat, that kind of thing, and the distaste for that. Just to mention that basically all their money is coming from fans, and what that's really engendered is a very wide open discourse with people in terms of their development, which is very interesting in some ways. Unfortunately, it also gets very dull and stretched out when you get into those boring long sections of development where there's lots of work happening, but you don't necessarily see all the results. So where I'm going with this, Crowfall is not that has announced that they're kind of stepping away from the hard launch date targets that they've had in the past, like switching from their alpha to their beta on day X or from beta to release on day Y. And they're kind of aiming more for a soft launch, where the soft launch is essentially getting some core pieces of the game put together that they've identified this is going to be critical to a good experience for a player, and get that out the door, get people playing, and then start layering on the rest of the features that they wanted to put in there. So we're going to be sharing some notes from the Crowfall site, kind of talking about the gory details of this. The ultimate thing for Crowfall is that all of the stuff that they promised is not going to happen on time, but they are still going to try to get people playing the game in a timely fashion. So one of the reasons why I thought this was kind of an interesting story, I know this Crowfall's not super high on your radar there, Harry, because characters have swords, which is...
Yeah,
sure. But the reason why I thought this might pique your interest a little bit is that to me, this is actually a little bit of an analog of what's been happening with Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous was hyped up as a game that was kind of following a similar pattern to what Star Citizen was going to do. It was going to be this huge game where you could have right down to a planetary FPS experience going all the way into interplanetary exploration to galactic mapping scale. And the game as it was released was not that. You were able to get in your ship. It was a great space sim experience. It was a great space combat experience, but it was still a very basic game. Now we're getting into a couple different patch cycles and seasons, as they want to call it, and Elite is starting to layer on a lot more features. And we've talked about this a lot, about how we say this is actually a really positive way to get the game out there because it's getting into people's hands. It's a very muted way to do it in that it doesn't make as big a splash as a game that's been super hyped and then just explodes onto the scene with all its bells and whistles.
It's very British. It's a very British way of doing it.
It is very British, and now these guys are I think it's a Massachusetts company, if I remember correctly, but yeah, it's kind of British. They had a Tea Party thing that was inspired by the British, if I remember correctly.
I do think calling anybody from Massachusetts British is basically the biggest insult.
It's a good way to get punched in the nose, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Massachusetts.
I was just saying the Elite Dangerous way of doing things is a British, because it's understated. It's tinkering with stuff. It's not the bold brashness of a Star Citizen saying this is going to be the greatest game ever, and then not doing it.
But that style lends itself so well to the crowdfunded, kickstarted development cycle, I think, because the people that are the money that you're getting for that game is all coming from people that you've already sold the game to. They bought into the idea before you ever even started.
But getting back to one of the things that is appealing to me, what you're describing in the Crowfall system, as it is in Elite Dangerous, is and it's basically going back to the civilization discussion we had earlier. If the base game, even if it's bare bones, is good, and even if they would cease development from there on, at least you have a self-contained, working, well thought out product that you can sink your teeth in. That's a good thing. It's better than releasing something that's half-assed. Mm-hmm. Because that's something they can do now. They have to deliver something, even though it's limited in features. Those features better be damn good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Game companies have been doing that for ever. With a choice that they have to make between releasing something that's quality or half-assing something out the door to meet a deadline. So clearly, Crowfall doesn't, or the Crowfall devs don't feel beholden to meeting those deadlines. I mean, they obviously they have kind of pressure to release and get something in people's hands, but they're not feeling the pressure for hitting the Christmas 2016 season with a box that people can put their hands on and go.
That's something that has to end, by the way, and this is more of a general thing. That the idea that games have to come out in the holiday season because otherwise they don't sell is just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I mean, especially games need to have a longer tail than that, especially MMOs.
Yeah. Well, the interesting push for that, I think, is going to be when Legion comes out, which is coming out in, August, I think, which is, to me, pretty much a dead time for games in general, but especially MMOs. I mean, MMOs are notorious for being ghost towns in the summer when the sun is shining and the outside gets people into it and that kind of thing. Yeah,
even I don't play MMOs in the summer. I even go outside. It's ridiculous. Well, not if VR gets here, then I won't go anywhere.
You'll just pretend to go outside.
Yeah, I will just find some sunny virtual beach and get back.
Oh, man.
And only my eyes get tanned. That's the scary thing.
Oh, man, if you come out with brown eyes when they went in blue, then... I don't think you call that a tan anymore, do you?
I think we would call a doctor.
Anyway, so there you go. Keep your eyes peeled for the soft launch, and the article is very blunt about the fact that they're not giving any dates for anything right now. It's a quote unquote when it's done situation for Crowfall. But anyway, very high on the radar for MMO Reporter. Chris is a big fan of this game, so am I. So keep your eyes peeled there. Okay,
well, we're going to go through a couple of quick mentions, and I'm actually going to make them quick for a change. First, the Overwatch beta, as Bill discussed, he actually played it, had nearly 10 million people log on, 9.7 million people. And somebody here on the MMO Reporter team has put on its tinfoil hat and speculated that the 1 day of extended beta was basically an attempt to get the magical 10 million people playing. Bill, was that you who speculated?
I wonder who put that there. That's so weird.
I think it's an interesting theory. Yeah.
What an amazing number, though. I mean, think about World of Warcraft at its absolute height was just over 10 million. I think it was 12 million was its peak in its absolute heyday, right?
16 million.
Was it 16?
Subscribers, but that's not people playing at that same time. I think this is a ridiculous number. I mean, even if there were 16 million people subscribed, that's still not 60 million people playing at the time.
A beta weekend, though.
Yeah,
that's insane. Anyway, good for Overwatch.
Yeah, and we're looking at a very close launch date, May 24th. The game is going to come out. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
In VR.
If there's one type of game you don't want to play in VR, it's the first-person shooter. That's actually the worst experience possible.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You will hurl. I know from experience, unfortunately, and I'm not even exaggerating. Another quick mention, Lord of the Rings Online. The game is still running, and I miss it sometimes because I had the best experiences in that game. What I loved about it is that they didn't focus on raiding, and now they are. It's interesting. They are actually looking for people to test out new raids or a raid on the Palantir test server, and which is a nice departure for Lord of the Rings Online, because so far, basically since launch, they've said this is not a raiding game. They were actually tempted to not have any raids at all because they just didn't want that in the game, and then they yielded to demand of and they put in some very nice raiding experiences that were then ignored, and now they're apparently testing it again, and maybe even gonna add some new raids in there. 5% of the population apparently played the raids and nobody else. Well, that was a number that one of the devs gave out in a dev post. Oh geez, that's got to be 3 or 4 years ago now, to justify not doing any more raids, and I can believe it, but interesting that they're coming back to it. When I was living in the Oculus Rift subreddit, everybody's waiting for the Rift. I had a flare of nostalgia when somebody else posted Sapiens's Rules of Soon. You remember that one? The soon.
Oh yeah, I use that daily.
And I was like, oh, I forgot about that. But anyway, never mind. Final quick mention is also surprising. Star Trek Online, still running, apparently still good for some people, is coming to console. And they plan to do that ever since launch. And we're talking about a generation of consoles ago. But now it's fine. Yeah, it was planned for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And now they're finally doing it. This fall, Star Trek Online is coming to Xbox One and PlayStation 4 with some graphical overhauls that will also come to PC. And I think this is a good idea, especially since free-to-play MMOs apparently do very well on consoles. So, DC Universe Online recently launched on Xbox One. Before it was a staple of PlayStation 4 gaming. Planetfall is doing well. Neverwinter Nights on the Xbox One is apparently still running quite well. So I think it's an interesting decision to bring something that's more high profile. Star Trek is more high profile than all those things together on the console as a free-to-play MMO. So maybe I'll even give it a try again, as long as you don't beam off the bridge whenever you go to your space view. If they do that, then I'll hate them.
Well, yeah.
It's stupid. Agree with me, please. Yep. But this is a stupid decision. Just fade to black. Just fade to black.
Yep, you're right. 100%.
Thank you.
Anyway, and this is actually still throwing a few bones to the PC crowd as well, because the graphic improvements that they're implementing to kind of put a little bit extra shine on the console release will actually be replicated on PC. So a bunch of new UI improvements, a bunch of lighting improvements. So it'll be, I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably try it too, but because being the PC snob that I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I never understood the PC snobbery for somebody who has a PC that's from the Stone Age.
Yeah.
You got a 960. I mean, come on, you can't be a PC snob.
Yeah, well, it's still better than the non-existent console I have. So anyway. No feeling sorry for me. If you would like to get a hold of us, here's a whole bunch of ways to do that. You can head over to our website at MMOreporter.com. Send us an email, mmo.reporter@gmail.com. Visit us over on Facebook, facebook.com/MMOreporter. Send us some tweets, either at MMO_reporter for Chris, at Harry Hall for Harry Hall, at MMO Bill for yours truly. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, give us a call, 616-666-6778. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of Civ 6. You know what? I'm curious to see if there's as much passion out there for it as what Harry and I are producing on this show. It'd be cool to hear. Visit us over on YouTube, youtube.com/MMO Reporter Network for all of our shows and coverage and other beautiful stuff. If you're looking to help us keep the lights on, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/MMO Reporter, and you can be one of our excellent patrons there. Or if Patreon is not your style, head over to MMOreporter.com/support for some other ways that you can help us out. Harry, you were and continue to be fantastic.
Thank you so much. Feelings mutual. You were absolutely great.
Oh, wonderful. Chris, you're awesome too. Wherever you are right now, you're awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and give us a listen this week. And we love you all. And we'll just finish that off with a very nice, we hope to see you in game.
Don't
forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.